0365 for a free quote. This protection plan is at an all-time low price. Drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. So please call for your free quote. 800-881-0365. 800-881-0365. Hey, what do you have to lose? 800-881-0365.
Hunters, we are about 2 months away from turkey season. Are you ready? Hey, it's Mike Ferguson here, and if you stop by and visit my friends at Whistle Pig Outdoors, you will be. Whistle Pig is stocked with decoys from Avian X and DSD, clothing from Bandit and First Light, calls from Rolling Thunder and Woodhaven, plus Whistle Pig has those hard-to-find tungsten shells from Apex and Migra. Whistle Pig Outdoors in Troy, Missouri. Just go to whistlepigoutdoors.com.
JC's Wayback Machine.
Around this time in 1964, the world was discovering a little band from Liverpool. So we'll visit with Ringo, who talks about his all-star band.
People phone in. People say, hey, are you going out this year?
Wait a minute. You're trying to tell me, like take the 15th caller? It's like a radio station contest?
Yeah, anyone who phones in is in the band.
It's all brought to you by the Weber Automotive Group.
It's JC's Wayback Machine. Every Saturday night, 6 to 9 on News Talk STL.
Now the O'Reilly Update brings you something you might not know. 21 years ago this morning, one of the most famous entertainers in America was released from federal prison in West Virginia. Despite that, she remains a global celebrity to this day. Here is the story of Martha Stewart. Ms. Stewart rose to fame as a best-selling author of books on cooking and decorating. Her lifestyle brand expanded to TV, magazines, and online. Martha became the first female billionaire in 1999 when her company, Martha Stewart Living, went public. Her legal troubles began 2 years later when she sold a stake in a pharmaceutical company. The stock price plummeted the next day. The strange timing started a federal investigation over allegations of insider trading. A highly publicized trial ensued. Martha Stewart was found guilty on charges of conspiracy and obstruction of justice, not insider trading. She was sentenced to 5 months in prison, 2 years of probation. The media mogul was released from federal prison on March 4th, 2005. 6 months later, she sat down with David Letterman.
It was pretty horrifying.
Right.
And yet I'm pretty strong. I found out how strong I was during this whole ordeal, and mentally strong, and also physically strong. So I did not allow myself to get depressed. I did not allow myself to get down too much. I faced what I had to face. I lived through it with actually sort of flying colors.
Despite some negative press, Martha Stewart rebounded. She kept her company intact, wrote a book, debuted 2 new television programs within 12 months. And here's something else you might not know. Ms. Stewart remains one of the most successful women in the United States of America. Under the advice of her close friend, rapper Snoop Dogg, she recently launched her own marijuana business, a line of cannabis candy called Martha Stewart's Wellness Berry Medley Gummies. Today, the 84-year-old's net worth is valued at about $600 million. No doubt, that's pretty high. Pardon the pun. Back in a moment. Here's a bulletin for American homeowners. The FBI has been warning about a type of real estate fraud called title theft, and your equity is a target. With just a forged signature, your ownership can be transferred out of your name. Without protection in place, you are left with an emotional and financial nightmare. That's why I partner with Home Title Lock, so you can find out today if you're already a victim and protect yourself. Use promo code BILL at HomeTitleLock.com to get a free title history report, plus a free trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. That's 24/7 monitoring, urgent alerts, and if you're a victim of fraud, they'll spend up to $1 million to fix it. So don't be a victim. Protect your equity today. HomeTitleLock.com, promo code BILL. Thank you for listening to the O'Reilly Update. I am Bill O'Reilly. No spin, just facts, and always looking out for you.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. The Pentagon says the United States is quickly gaining air superiority over Iran. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth told reporters that the U.S. military is quickly taking over Iranian airspace. He also reported on success underwater.
An American submarine sunk an Iranian warship.
Despite progress in the opening days of the war, Hegseth said the U.S. can't stop all air attacks, and he refused to commit to a time frame for how long the conflict may last.
We can say 4 weeks, but it could be 6, it could be 8, it could be 3. Ultimately, we set the pace and the tempo.
Top officials caution that U.S. service members remain in harm's way. Greg Clugston, the White House.
We'll have to wait a little longer to see who will face Democratic nominee James Tallarico in the U.S. Senate race in Texas.
Democratic state lawmaker James Tallarico got by U.S. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett in Texas' closely watched Democratic Senate primary. Tallarico will face the winner of a May runoff for the GOP Senate nomination between incumbent John Cornyn and challenger and Attorney General Ken Paxton. Cornyn and Paxton came out the top finishers in a three-way contest with Congressman Wesley Hunt. No GOP candidate hit the 50% vote threshold needed to win outright.
That's correspondent Andrew Stewart reporting. Texas, along with North Carolina and Arkansas, kicked off midterm elections with control of Congress at stake. The White House says Spain has agreed to cooperate with U.S. operations in the Middle East after President Trump had threatened to cut off trade with Madrid. A recovery day on Wall Street with the Dow up by 238 points. The Nasdaq rose 290. The S&P advanced 52. More at townhall.com.
Snapshot from Progressive wasn't created for just anybody. Oh no, we made it for you. Gradual breakers. You keep your eyes on the road, so you've seen it all. As long as it all happened directly in front of you, like a Swedish masseuse. Your foot knows exactly the right amount of pressure to apply to the brake. That's why your passengers feel totally relaxed with you behind the wheel and occasionally super sleepy. With Snapshot, safe drivers like you get personalized rates based on your driving habits. Sign up today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Snapshot not available in California or from all agents.
If you're like most Americans nearing retirement with money in a 401k or IRA, then listen. The U.S. Supreme Court's recent ruling on President Trump's tariffs has added fresh uncertainty to global trade policy, and investors don't like uncertainty. That ruling helped push gold to another multi-week high. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000 to get your free gold investment kit. You'll also receive a free copy of Ken Rogoff's book, Our Dollar, Your Problem. Consult your financial advisor before investing. Call 800-900.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. A chance for more scattered storms tonight into Thursday morning. Temperatures not moving much, if anything rising a little bit. Low 54 Thursday morning and then a high of 68. A warmer day. Any rain in the morning tapers off pretty quickly after the morning drive. And most of the day is dry and mostly cloudy. There is a chance for some isolated showers or a storm Thursday night into early Friday morning. Otherwise, Friday's our warm day. A high of 79 degrees, breezy and partly to mostly cloudy. Then we watch for some more storms Friday night, mainly after midnight into Saturday morning. Those could be severe, so we'll keep a close eye on that for Friday night. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli here with our great friend Chris Cooper from Serenity Wealth Management. Hi, Chris.
How are you, Vic?
I don't want to put anybody else down, but that when you go up and visit you at Serenity Wealth, your place looks like home.
So a lot of financial advisory offices, they have, the big mahogany desk or the big marble entryways and things like that. The stock market channel on the TV when you walk in the door, right? That doesn't really drive a good conversation. Good financial guidance and advice starts with a good conversation. People are nervous. People are afraid to talk about finances, right? And so you can see a little standoffish. Well, my objective is to try to have a good, casual conversation. By having those conversations about life, goals, objectives, it's what makes me understand what our financials are supposed to fund.
So if somebody does want to have a good conversation, how do they do that? How do they find you?
Our website is the best way to do that because you can get all the information you need, understand where we are, get a little bit more information, all that. SerenityWealthNow.com.
Reach out to Chris and Stacy today at SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
All the information I need on the drive to work.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. I keep it on throughout the day, whether it's local, national, or something big that's happening overseas.
News, analysis, and opinion.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
Lime dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
The stated military objectives of Operation Epic Fury are as follows. Eliminate Iran's ballistic missile threat, destroy their naval capability, disrupt missile and drone production infrastructure, sever their pathway, and end their pathway to nuclear weapons. And I can report, as you all saw from the Pentagon today, that thus far this operation has been remarkably successful. Again, we're moving towards complete and total control of Iranian airspace. We have continuous 24/7 strike operations ongoing. We've had more than 2,000 targets that have been struck, nearly 2,000 munitions have been employed.
Really solid update there from a comm standpoint from the press secretary, Carolyn Levitt, about Operation Epic Fury. We're going to cover and analyze that, talk about all the elections across the country, many states having primaries kicking off election 2026 season, and I have an update from the Missouri Capitol on a piece of legislation we've been talking about for months. Welcome to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. Chris, lots to talk about in the Middle East and beyond today.
Lot to talk about there. You hear Carolyn Levitt talk about the decimation of the Iraq Air Force, the Iraq Navy. Their ground defenses, air defenses have all just been about eliminated. A very interesting development. I read about this yesterday. You know, the president has urged the Iranian people to rise up and overthrow their government. I think the president and the CIA are trying to put that plan into action, Tim. The president has been talking to leaders of the Kurds, who, of course, are in the upper part of Iraq, and there are Kurds in Iran as well. There is a plan being talked about of arming them and having them help the Iranians help overthrow their government. Mm-hmm. So this military operation is going quite well. 6 people, unfortunately, have lost their lives, but in terms of all of the military action that we are doing over there, to only have 6 people that have been killed so far, I think is extraordinarily good news as well.
It truly is. And unfortunately, I have a little connection to one of the service members that gave their life. I'll talk about that in a minute. Fox News reporting thousands of Iraqi Kurds have launched a ground offensive into Iran. So the theater of war definitely widening, although I heard one of the generals today describing the difference between air superiority and air supremacy. So air supremacy being total and complete and utter control of the sky. Superiority meaning you've got an advantage, you have a strong advantage over your adversaries. And this general said that the U.S. and Israel have air supremacy. They can do whatever they want, anytime, anywhere over Iraqi airspace.
Yeah, Iran has no air force. They have no navy. Their systems that are designed to shoot down airplanes have just about been eliminated. The military, Israel and the United States, have targeted a lot of their launchers that they're using to shoot these missiles. as we've heard over the last few days that, Iran has shot missiles into its neighbors, the Arab countries. But a big development today is they shot an arrow towards Turkey, which, of course, is a NATO ally, but is sometimes a sometimey ally. They've been partnering with Russia on a lot of things. Well, now they're dragging Turkey into this conflict as well, which is not a good thing for them. Turkey was kind of standing off to the side. They're a fellow Muslim country like Iran and like these Arab countries, but not a good development for them to widen this war into Turkey.
Indeed, there were 6 U.S. service members killed in action in Kuwait. They were hit by an Iranian strike at a makeshift operations center in Kuwait. 4 of the service members have been identified. And unfortunately, Chris, one of the service members, a very young man, 20-year-old sergeant. He was posthumously advanced to the rank of sergeant, was from Drake University in Des Moines, Iowa. And my oldest daughter, Katie, was not best friends or anything with him, but she knew him. And she was texting us last night saying, this just happened, and I am so upset. And I agree. The war has come home and will continue to come home for all of us. And a lot of younger people are they don't have the history that those of us who are older, right, do, that we have basically been having to deal with this theocratic 7th century regime for nearly 50 years. A lot of people are wondering, why are we doing this? Why now? Why in this situation? Well, if you believe everything the U.S. and the Israelis are telling you, it's because things had reached a critical mass and that Iran was becoming an imminent threat to the globe.
And I think also, too, I mean, this is the weakest point this regime has been in 47 years. There's internal unrest. Israel took out a lot of their capabilities last summer, as we did also, and this is the best time to take them out. I'm also hearing criticism, which is very interesting. The reason that the Iranians overthrew the Shah back in 1979 is because they were upset with the monarchy. They were upset with, the king dies, and his son, of course, succeeds him. We see the same thing now with the mullahs, and it shows kind of a little hypocrisy that they have elevated Khomeini's son as to be the next supreme leader. I don't know how well that's going to play with these hardliners, because this is what they fought against in 1979, and now you see kind of a monarchy in a sense.
Yeah, they're not getting the message, are they? I want to make mention of this young man's name. He is Sergeant Declan Cody, Coady, 20 years old, of West Des Moines, Iowa. He was posthumously promoted from specialist to the rank of sergeant. He was assigned to the 103rd Sustainment Command, which provides food, fuel, water, and ammunition, transport equipment and supplies. Supply lines, of course, extremely important in combat theaters. He had apparently just told his father last week that he had been recommended for a promotion from specialist to sergeant, a rank that he has now received posthumously. He was one of the youngest people in his class, always impressed his instructors, and extremely good at what he did, apparently to everyone who knew him. So very, very sorry about this tragic loss of this young man. And we never know why some die in theater and some don't, and some survive and some do not. We thank all of them for their service, and we think of all their families at this point in time.
Most definitely.
We'll continue to just cover that and a lot of other issues related to that situation. We are going to talk legal matters today as well, Chris, of course, because it's Wednesday. Zack Smith, our senior legal fellow at the Heritage Foundation. One thing we can talk to Zack about is the War Powers Resolution. I think they're voting on that maybe now as we speak in the U.S. Senate. We can ask Zack about that and all of the other legal matters that we're dealing with here in the country.
And the big case before the Supreme Court, we talked with Susie about that on Monday, is the Supreme Court is hearing an argument to allow those that have been convicted of drug offenses, particularly of smoking or possessing marijuana, giving them their gun rights back. So,
I heard your promo on that. The ganja.
So we'll see how that goes. Apparently, you can't read in too much of what the justices say, especially during their questioning. But it looks like they're going to overturn that, and so we'll get Zack's opinion on that at 4:25.
And we can also ask him about the other case we discussed this week, the Supreme Court weighing in, Chris, on that California law. There was a California law that barred schools from informing parents as to whether or not their children were changing their genders in those, what do we call them, the gender
closets.
Gender closets? What a weird, the left is so weird. Gender closets, and the Supreme Court jumped in and in a procedural fashion said, no, we're going to stop that for now, and we're going to work all this out. So,
and it also plays into the philosophy of the Democrats, of socialists, that your children don't belong to you. They belong to the state, and so they see no issue with maybe you having a problem with your child transgendering and identifying with an other sex, but they feel that they know what's better for your child, and so they're going to encourage what we've said many times and what I believe is a mental illness of people that are confused on their gender.
Reminds me of one of Hillary Clinton's many infamous sayings. You know, Chris, it takes a village to raise your children. No. It takes a mom and a dad.
Exactly.
It takes a mom and a dad.
A village can help, but the ultimate responsibility of raising your children belongs to the mother and the father or the legal guardian.
Yeah, it's great to have supportive neighbors and friends and a community and in-laws and your parents around, grandparents, but you're right. Ultimately, it comes down to mom and dad, and I really my heart goes out to the single-parent households who have to try to raise their family and support them by themselves. And so therefore, it may take a little extra help. It does take extra help in those situations, but the ultimate decision making as to how the child is reared should come down to mom or dad, or both. Hopefully, both.
Exactly, and the other big news, of course, yesterday was, as you stated earlier, Tim, the elections around the country. People were focused more on the Texas situation. Captain Caveman,
indeed,
Al Green is heading to a runoff.
Captain Caveman!
And he is going to be running against someone who currently occupies that seat in Houston. It's going to be kind of a generational war again between the older and the new. People aren't putting too much, aren't putting their money on Captain Caveman surviving. And Jasmine Crockett, St. Louisan, lost her race
down
yesterday.
With the ship.
Which I found very, very interesting yesterday because of the lines have been changed in Texas. A lot of folks didn't know where they were supposed to vote on Election Day yesterday. And, of course, Jasmine Crockett was trying to say this is a big conspiracy by the Republicans to try to cheat. And I'm like, Jasmine, the Republicans want you to win.
We wanted you to win. We said that on. We knew that.
The last thing that they're going to do is try to suppress your vote. They want you to win this primary because you, of course, are going to be the easier target for either John Paxton or for Cornyn, who yesterday that race goes to a runoff, but Cornyn actually did win the popular vote. But it's going to be a bloodbath between those two for the next few months.
Yep, we got some runoffs to watch in Texas, but on the other hand, some folks are going home for now, and Jasmine Crockett's one of them. I got a kick out of her press conference. You could tell how embarrassed she was that she was getting shellacked, and you could tell she could not get out of that room fast enough. She was like, well, they're still counting the votes, and they don't have this figured out, so, I'm really not going to say much tonight other than I got to go. I got to see y'all later. But before she left, she basically pointed out that she was down because basically racism and rigged elections.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Jasmine, you understand you're running in a Democratic primary, so you just called Democrats racist and that you all rig elections. How is this the Republicans' fault? And to your point, we here in Missouri talked about the fact that we knew it would be best if she would win the primary.
Jasmine Crockett lost yesterday for two reasons. One, she was vastly outspent by Tallarico, and two, she had a terrible campaign strategy. At least Tallarico was trying to look moderate. He's supposed to be a Christian moderate. If you listen to him, everything that the moderates believe, this is what Jesus Christ believes. So he is one Democrat that's not afraid to express his faith, wrongly, I believe. But, to believe that he has any type of chance in Texas, I think is an extreme long shot.
Yeah, I thought Democrats made an interesting choice there, maybe pulling a little bit back from the craziest of the cray-cray, although there's still plenty of left-wing liberals in Congress. Jasmine Crockett will not be there after this year, but I have a feeling, Chris, that we haven't seen the last of her.
And I didn't get to it. Her campaign strategy was terrible. Instead of trying to enlarge the base and try to find moderates or people that were unhappy with President Trump and maybe would vote on the Democratic ticket, her whole campaign strategy was trying to motivate Democrats to come out en masse and help defeat Tallarico. That strategy failed miserably.
And it's all the Republicans' fault now, according to her. Finally, one of Governor Mike Kehoe's largest priorities moved out of a House committee today and is expected for a vote on the House floor next week. That's the income tax elimination. So we'll continue to track that. I may explain more on that later. Chris's Corner will be up right after Zack Smith this afternoon.
Yeah, we've talked about this many times on the show and have talked about this in a couple of Chris's Corner, but the Democrats have an Israel problem, and we'll talk more about that on Chris's Corner at 4:45. Governor Newsom made a astonishing statement yesterday regarding Israel, which I'm sure will rile up his base, but I don't know how much that would help him in a general election.
Looking forward to hearing about that around 4:45. Speaker's Stump Speech at 5:06 will feature a special guest today, Daniel Turner. We haven't talked to our old friend Daniel Turner. Larry Behrens appears often on our station. Daniel is the founder and executive director of the group that Larry works for, Power the Future. Talk about how energy policy is all wrapped up in and around and through this current conflict in the Middle East. And what has Trump 2.0 done regarding energy policy and put us in a better position than we were the last 4 years? So we're going to talk about the energy aspects of all of this, which makes the world go round.
And I've never heard of Phil Bell, but obviously he's a brother because he's a Project 21 ambassador, like I am for Project 21. So it'll be interesting to talk to him.
Yeah, we're going to talk to him at 5.
For those that don't know, he's a black person. I say he's a brother.
Talk to him at 5:25. And he is going to talk to us about how the attacks on Iran will affect the economy. Chris, he'll touch on the results of that Texas primary, changes to TSA checkpoints at airports, and missing Rush Limbaugh 5 years after his death. I wonder if Phil has got a connection to the El Rush Bow. So we'll talk all about that at 5:25 with a new friend of the show, new guest of the show today, Phil Bell. 5:45. What is on the ticker today?
Yeah, we'll have more info on Biden spying on Trump officials. This was in the news a couple of weeks ago, but some astonishing developments on the spying that was going on in the Biden Justice Department, specifically against Kash Patel, the current FBI director.
Fantastic. Looking forward to that as well. Jam-packed show today. Buckle up, Buttercups. We're going to get rocking and rolling here. If you're watching us on the stream, which you should from time to time, if not every day, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, you'll see producer Cole is at the con today.
Doing a fantastic job.
I think he stole one of Tony Colombo's sweatshirts because he's the only one in this place that goes to Mackinac Island.
He travels with the family.
Yeah, maybe Cole does. We'll have to ask him about that later. Check us out on the stream. Listen to us on the app and more. We'll be back with our legal eagle, Zack Smith, about the War Powers resolution currently being debated in the Senate and all those Supreme Court cases that Chris and I discussed when we come back at 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. A chance for more scattered storms tonight into Thursday morning. Temperatures not moving much, if anything rising a little bit, low 54 Thursday morning, and then a high of 68. A warmer day. Any rain in the morning tapers off pretty quickly after the morning drive, and most of the day is dry and mostly cloudy. There is a chance for some isolated showers or a storm Thursday night into early Friday morning. Otherwise, Friday's our warm day, a high of 79 degrees, breezy and partly to mostly cloudy. Then we watch for some more storms Friday night, mainly after midnight into Saturday morning. Those could be severe, so we'll keep a close eye on that for Friday night. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
The news and talk.
I think Iran realizes it's isolated.
The world's a safer place.
That matters to St. Louis.
We didn't start this war, but under President Trump, we are finishing it.
This is 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Hello, everyone. It's Fez with the Moolah Shrine Circus. I want to remind you to get your tickets now for our big circus in March. We've got new exciting acts like the Swinging Trapeze, the Daring Horseman, the Human Cannonball, and much more. And kids under 12 are free with a paid general admission ticket. So go to moolah.org and get your tickets today for the Moolah Shrine Circus, March 20th to the 22nd at the St. Charles Family Arena.
Hey, it's Vic. If you have a tree that you think is dead, you can get Roots Plus to remove it for you. Or if you think the tree is savable, or if Roots Plus thinks it's savable, they can save your tree and you keep your cash. Call them and find out what that's all about at 314-440-3662. The crews are great. They get things done. They removed the tree for me, and they did expert work, and I definitely will put my name on their company. So save the tree with Roots Plus LLC. RootsPlusLLC.com.
Hey, Jamie Allman here for the great Window World. You know, just over the last 20 years of Window World being in St. Louis, they've improved the look and thermal efficiency of more than 76,000 customers in St. Louis. Plus, Window World windows come with a lifetime warranty that covers all parts, glass breakage, and labor. And now Window World is now offering 36 months, same as cash financing, with approved credit. Call them today at 314-993-1800, 314-993-1800.
So many ways to listen to News Talk STL.
Enable our Alexa skill.
Hello.
Hey, Alexa.
Yes, I'm listening.
Play News Talk STL.
Welcome to News Talk STL, conservative talk radio for St. Louis.
I was thinking all about spring storms driving in today because there were spring storms all around us here in the Heartland. I was thinking about roofs. I was thinking about one of our newest advertisers, Corel Roofing Co. Yep, your new favorite roofing company. So happy to welcome them into News Talk STL Nation. The folks at Corel Roofing Co., more than 20 years of experience right here locally. They know what spring storms are like here in the Heartland, especially in the St. Louis metro region. There were 4 major storms last year. Did you remember that? Do you recall that? Did you have your roof checked out after any of those? Don't panic. Most insurance companies will provide you up to a year to make your claim, but that means time is running out. Contact them today. Corel Roofing Co., local. You're going to work with local experienced roofing specialists through the entire process who advocate for you from start to finish. Now, they'll work with the insurance companies, but they know that you are the person that they want to protect, help, and make completely whole. For complete peace of mind, Corel Roofing Co. They'll come out and check out your roof this very week. Make sure you get that in before that clock runs out. If you had no damage, if you're all good and fine, I want you to keep them in mind as we go through this year. So it's always one after the other, right? We're about to go through another set of spring storms, so I want you to be prepared. CorelRoofingCo.com, CorelRoofingCo.com. Go to CorelRoofingCo.com to see all the great things they can do. Schedule your appointment today to get them up on your roof and advocating directly for you. That's CorelRoofingCo.com, CorelRoofingCo.com.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at Stifel.com. That's Stifel.com.
Listen, baby, ain't no mountain high, ain't no valley low, ain't no river wide enough, baby. If you need me, call.
It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
Justice Sotomayor?
So really the question is whether someone who possesses the gun and drinks socially at a bar, or drinks socially somewhere else, takes a stick of marijuana at a party, whether you can prosecute that person.
Respectfully, not quite. I don't think it's a question with respect to casual bar drinkers, which we think are on different footing.
Well, but let's take the person who has marijuana at a party.
If the person is doing so habitually and repeatedly, they
at
are...
parties, even
anywhere.
though the gun is somewhere else.
That is correct. They
all right,
cannot...
I just want to know what you're...
Oh, it's all perfectly legal. You are out of order! You're out of order! You're out of order! The whole trial is out of order!
Zack Smith, legal fellow with the Heritage Foundation.
You know, I ask you a lot of predictions. Can you predict what the Supreme Court probably will do with this action?
And as he does every Tuesday, we have Zack Smith, senior legal fellow at the Heritage Foundation. Zack, how are you, my friend? Sorry about that. Zach, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, Chris. It's good to be on with you.
Zach, I guess let's just get to the point here. Supreme Court is hearing a case regarding should stoners get their gun rights back. It was interesting hearing Sotomayor there, who was a liberal member of the court. Usually they are against gun rights and the Second Amendment overall. Your thoughts on this case, and where do you see it going, even though you don't make predictions?
Well, that's right, Chris. I don't make predictions, so I'm glad you remember.
Had to throw that in there.
No, I appreciate that. But, I was talking to Joey right before he came on the air, and I think he summed up this case perfectly. He said this was the guns and ganja case.
I like that.
I think he hit the nail on the head because that is the issue in this case. But look, this is an important Second Amendment case. It deals with whether a certain provision, 18 U.S.C. 922G3, is constitutional, whether that comports with the Second Amendment. And if that provision sounds familiar, and it might, that's because that was the same provision, one of the same provisions that Hunter Biden was charged with violating, that a jury actually convicted him of violating, and that he was going to face sentencing on before his dad ultimately pardoned him. Now, the reason you heard this back and forth about drunkards at the founding, there was another clip from Justice Gorsuch that went kind of viral where he was talking about how much John Adams, how much Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, other founding fathers drank. The reason that matters is because in order for restrictions like this to be constitutional, in order for them to comport with the Second Amendment, the justices have said in other cases that there must be a historical analog, some historical precedent for these types of restrictions. And so what the government has said in this case is even though the founding era didn't have restrictions on marijuana or cocaine or other controlled substances, because those were largely unknown at the founding, they did have restrictions on habitual drunkards possessing firearms. And according to the government, that is sufficient to uphold these statutes.
Zach, in another Supreme Court case this week, the Supreme Court sided with parents in a dispute, of course, in California over the state's policies regarding what schools can or cannot do regarding transgender students. And Zach, just to show that we can't have an objective analysis of anything, Zach, two different headlines here. SCOTUS blog, which I don't know much about SCOTUS blog, Zach. I'm sure you do. I guess they try to be objective. Their headline was, courts side with parents in dispute over California policies on transgender, blah, blah, blah. The New York Times, Zach, added one word: Supreme Court sides with religious parents, blocking California's, like I guess, Zach, the intonation there is that they're like some part of some cult or something because they had to point out their religious parents, like, and give them a negative connotation. But whatever the case may be, Zach, the parents get to decide, at least for now, because the Supreme Court's put the brakes on this California case, right?
Yeah, well, let's stop and think about how crazy this is, Tim, that we actually have to have the Supreme Court of the United States weigh in and say that school officials and school districts cannot secretly transition the gender or actively mislead parents about whether or not their child is transitioning to a different gender. The idea that the U.S. Supreme Court has to weigh in and say that is really shocking. Now, this case came up on the court's emergency docket. This is a preliminary ruling by the court, but the court has said, look, the parents, these other officials, they're likely to succeed on their claims that this violates their right to raise their children as they see fit. Now, one other interesting thing I'll mention about this particular case, Tim, one of the concurrences by Justice Amy Coney Barrett talked about a case the court decided a couple of terms ago, Mahmoud versus Taylor. You may remember that was a case where Maryland school officials were reading very graphic, I would say pornographic books to very young children in the school system, and parents objected to that, said it violated their religious beliefs for those types of books to be read to their children. And Maryland school officials said, no, you have to send your children. They have to be indoctrinated with these curricular lessons. And the Supreme Court said, no. Parents have a right to raise their children as they see fit. And Justice Samuel Alito, he famously said, parents don't surrender that right at the schoolhouse door. That's not part of the bargain they struck in terms of funding public schools, sending their children to public schools, is essentially to have their children forcibly taught materials that violate their own religious beliefs. And what Justice Barrett said is that the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, the lower federal court, a very liberal federal court that oversees California and other Western states, said they got it wrong. They had interpreted the Supreme Court's decision in Mahmoud too narrowly. They hadn't applied it broadly enough, and that in her view, that ruling should also cover these types of claims as well. So this is a good day for parents, a good day for the rule of law, a good day for common sense. But stay tuned. There will be more to be said on this case.
Speaking with Zack Smith, Senior Legal Fellow at the Heritage Foundation, heritage.org. Zack, we know that redistricting has been a huge issue in the news of the last few months. Of course, there's a midterm election going on in 2026. The Republicans have a very slim majority in the House. The Supreme Court recently blocked a redistricting effort in New York that would have flipped a GOP seat. Tell us about that.
Yeah, this was another case that came up on the emergency docket. This was an effort by some parties to challenge the lone Republican seat that represents part of New York City and Staten Island. And what's crazy is that New York has a supposedly independent redistricting commission that drew this map, and the New York state courts said that the independent redistricting commission had to go back, redraw their map, and explicitly use race and other racial types of considerations in essentially drawing new districts. New York appellate courts refused to step in and stop this, and so the U.S. Supreme Court stepped in and put that New York State Court order on hold. And if your listeners haven't read Justice Samuel Alito's concurring opinion explaining why the court issued this somewhat unusual injunction, I highly commend it. It's a very good read. And what Justice Alito said is, look, what the New York state courts are doing here clearly violates the Equal Protection Clause of the Constitution. New York state courts are clearly requiring state officials to draw congressional districts based on the race of the individuals that will be part of those districts. And as Justice Alito explains, that clearly violates what the court has said the 14th Amendment, the Equal Protection Clause of the U.S. Constitution means. And just because New York state courts are pointing to the New York state Constitution or other New York state laws to justify their decision, that's not good enough. The U.S. Constitution controls, it supersedes New York state law, the New York Constitution. And look, discriminating on the basis of race, treating people differently on the basis of race is something that is clearly prohibited. And I think many people after this decision, Chris, will be closely watching to see whether Justice Alito ends up being the justice who will write another very important election-related decision, Louisiana versus Calais, where essentially certain provisions of the Voting Rights Act are being challenged as being incompatible with the Equal Protection Clause as well.
Zack, following up on that Justice Alito opinion and what you just said, I think you're exactly right. And Zack, I think the liberal left is panicking because they think you're right as well. Mother Jones, Zack, which is an extremely, as you know, far left-wing progressive online blog, their headline, Zack, about Justice Alito's concurrences, his latest opinion is a very, very bad sign for voting rights. Zack, I think this is comical because of everything you just described. So, Zack, even when Democrats, even when liberals control everything in a state like they do in New York, if they don't get the decision they want from an independent commission that they created and that they have the ability to change because they control the entire legislative mechanism in New York, well, then they run to the courts and they try to cook up some cockamamie alternate decision, right?
Well, it's absolutely, it's very frustrating. It's very sad to see, frankly, Tim, because I think, it should go without saying that treating people differently based on their race is wrong. The court has said that repeatedly in a variety of contexts. And I suspect that, those who support categorizing citizens differently based on their race for political advantage, that they may be disappointed when the Supreme Court does decide this Louisiana versus Calais case. And contrary to what Mother Jones and many on the left say, that is not a bad thing. That is a very good thing for our country. It is a very good thing for the rule of law and a very good thing for the idea of a colorblind constitution.
Zack, the Supreme Court procedure of summary reversal has seemed to have seen a rebirth over the last few years. The practice was pretty dormant between 2021 and 2024. Why do you believe that is the case? And explain to our audience what is a summary reversal.
Well, typically that refers to something known as a GVR, a grant, vacate, and remand, basically reverse or remand, where basically the court will grant certiorari. They'll agree to hear a case, but they won't hear an oral argument on it. They'll vacate the lower federal court or the state court's decision, typically the lower federal court's decision, and remand it back to the lower federal courts for proceedings consistent with another decision that they have already made. And you often see this when there are several cases where the court is being asked to take up very similar issues. They may hear one case and then GVR those other cases in accordance with that. So this is something that happens with some frequency. It's a fairly routine procedure. And there's nothing really nefarious going on whenever this happens. But if I can, Chris, I did want to say one more thing about that earlier Second Amendment case, the guns and ganja case we were talking about earlier. You did mention something about the ideological lineup of that case. And I think that's a very interesting thing to watch in this case, because the amicus briefs, the friend of court briefs that have been filed in that case, do not fall along neat ideological lines. It's a very odd lineup. You have very blue states like California, Illinois, New York, Washington, D.C., filing a brief in support of the Trump administration, agreeing with the Trump administration that this 922G3 provision that disarms unlawful users of controlled substances, that is constitutional. Whereas you have other groups that typically side with the Trump administration filing briefs opposed to the DOJ's position. And if you listen to oral arguments, and I'm not making a prediction, I'll be very clear, I'm not making a prediction here, but I think you may see that the decision in this case may not fall neatly along ideological lines. You may get kind of an unusual lineup of justices, whatever the court decides in this case, given some of the issues and some of their past writings on some of these Second Amendment types of issues.
Zach, I don't know if you've been brushing up on your war powers resolution knowledge this week, given all the activity up on Capitol Hill. Zach, apparently just a few minutes ago, the U.S. Senate did fail to pass a war powers resolution, so that might be the end of the story as far as this is concerned. But, Zach, this has come up. This comes up every decade or so. It comes up when Democratic presidents engage in military activity and then the Republicans rebel and vice versa. Zach, I don't think these war powers resolutions have ever been successful, have they, ultimately?
Well, there have been some resolutions imposing some restrictions on what presidents can do. But look, there is a current governing framework. You know, as you heard Secretary Rubio lay out earlier, Congress is required to give notification to Congress, I think within 48 hours of certain military actions taking place. That's what he did. As he said, the administration went above and beyond that. They provided notice to some members of Congress. Obviously, as he said, it's impossible to provide notice to all 535 members on very short order when military actions are being taken. But they did provide notification to some members, particularly those in leadership positions. But look, this is a very important discussion that is happening right now. But as President Trump, others have said, look, there is a long history in our country of the executive branch taking short-term temporary military actions to protect the interest of the United States. It goes all the way back to Thomas Jefferson with some of his actions against the Barbary pirates who were harming American interests, harming American shipping interests in the Mediterranean Sea. And so this is something that nearly every president has to contend with and take action based on information at their disposal while they're in office.
Zach, just a quick follow-up. Is there a legal argument for a president to say that he doesn't want to inform all 535 members of Congress because of the possibility of leaks, which could harm that operation?
Well, I don't think the president is required before the operation takes place to notify all members. As Secretary Rubio said, they have to provide a notification within 48 hours. There's a certain mechanism that takes place. Usually it's a letter to the leaders of the chamber who will then disseminate that to other members of their respective chambers. But look, Chris, I think it's a sad day when we have to worry about whether American senators, American representatives would leak information that could potentially harm members of our military who are in active combat zones. And yet, based on some of the criticisms, based on some of the very heated rhetoric we've seen from some of our elected representatives, that is a very real concern that I think this administration and others are rightful to take into consideration.
That is the legal wisdom of Zack Smith, Senior Legal Fellow at the Heritage Foundation, on X, TZ Smith, and of course, heritage.org. Zack, thank you as always for your time, and we'll speak with you again next Wednesday.
It was great catching up.
Thank you,
Take
my
care.
friend. All right, guns and ganji. I guess we settled that.
Zack circled back on that, too.
He did.
Liked
He did. I think he liked that.
I think he did indeed.
Very good, Joe. I wish I would have came up with that. All right, 444, Chris's Corner, the Democrats' Israel problem. I'll have that next on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL. Number one for live and local conservative talk.
Just call my name. I'll be there in a hurry. You don't have to worry.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. A chance for more scattered storms tonight into Thursday morning. Temperatures not moving much, if anything rising a little bit. Low 54 Thursday morning, and then a high of 68. A warmer day. Any rain in the morning tapers off pretty quickly after the morning drive, and most of the day is dry and mostly cloudy. There is a chance for some isolated showers or a storm Thursday night into early Friday morning. Otherwise, Friday's our warm day. A high of 79 degrees, breezy and partly to mostly cloudy. Then we watch for some more storms Friday night, mainly after midnight into Saturday morning. Those could be severe, so we'll keep a close eye on that for Friday night. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This is 101.9 and 94.1.
I have to tell you, if this is how they're going to behave, I'm rethinking my position.
News Talk STL.
Know where I'm heading tomorrow? I'm heading, truly am, to Comprehensive Chiropractic. Got my appointment tomorrow with Dr. Caleb Gordon. Really looking forward to it because as is almost every week for me during the spring when the Missouri legislature is in session, I am sitting in a vehicle, a couple hours over to Jefferson City, a couple hours back, sleeping in, strange hotel beds, et cetera, and so forth, walking around on those. Man, my feet back were killing me today. I was on the marble floors in the Capitol a lot. And, hey, no big deal, though. Going to go to Comprehensive Chiropractic tomorrow and get all put back into good shape. So Comprehensive Chiropractic is for those of you like me who deal with kind of that, on again, off again chronic pain. Nothing like hugely serious, but it is an annoyance, right? And pain is not something that's fun to live with. So it's and at Comprehensive Chiropractic, they'll tell you, look, we can do the adjustments and we can do the repairs for your spinal system and your musculoskeletal system, but we're also going to work with you to help you do things on your own, like so you can all feel even much better. And so they've taught me about stretching and the importance of that. And I've been stretching almost my whole life as a runner and all that, so I know about that. But also holistic things like, as we're aging, getting older, our body needs different things. And for me personally, it was adding more magnesium to my diet, and they helped me with that as well, and collagen and things like that. So Comprehensive Chiropractic, not your grandfather's chiropractic service. They're 21st century chiropractors. They have the studio upstairs. That's a health and wellness center right there at Comprehensive Chiropractic on the second floor. Oh, by the way, everything's at cchiropractic.com, at cchiropractic.com. Pilates and yoga classes in the studio. They've also got their licensed massage therapists up there on the second floor. Personal trainers, and they have a personal training facility as well at just down the road. So this is a huge, great operation that still has that nice hometown touch. Dr. Pat Fader built Comprehensive Chiropractic. I've known him most of my adult life, been going and seeing him for 2 decades, and I'm proof positive that even if you're a very active person or a weekend warrior or you have an accident or something of that sort, you do not have to live with the debilitating pain. They can take care of it for you. Check them out online at cchiropractic.com. That's Comprehensive Chiropractic at cchiropractic.com for all your comprehensive health care needs.
42% of Missouri fourth graders can barely read. 42%. It's the worst result in 20 years. If kids can't read by third grade, they fall behind in school, and many never catch up. But other states have provided a roadmap for success. Missouri needs one universal reading test for all third graders and one clear statewide standard for what it means to pass that test. A struggling reader who still can't read after extra help and a second chance at the test should repeat third grade with some exemptions. We also need to end the outdated 3 queuing method, which encourages guessing instead of reading. and require teachers to be trained in the science of reading. In Mississippi and Indiana, test scores jumped up dramatically after these reforms, and Missouri can do the same. Missouri children deserve to become confident, capable readers, and strong early literacy reforms can make it happen. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by the Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Looking for unbelievable deals? Stop by Overstock Outlet in Lake St. Louis or Warrenton, open 7 days a week. Discover big savings on a huge variety of merchandise with no hassle. Just great prices. Visit us in Lake St. Louis on Highway N or in Warrenton on Boones Lake. Check out our Facebook page at Overstock Outlet Lake St. Louis or go online to overstockoutletstl.com. Unbeatable value, friendly service, and you never know what we'll have at Overstock Outlet.
On the next
Larry Connors, USA.
Tonight, the story behind the story, reporting from the first Gulf War, and something that truly amazed me.
Larry Connors, USA. Now, weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Let's start with that Texas Senate race that attracted so much attention and money. On the Democratic side, James Tallarico defeated Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett in that hotly contested primary. In a victory speech, Tallarico said he was going to take back Texas. Jasmine Crockett, meantime, cited voting issues in Dallas and said that, in her words, people have been disenfranchised. Now, we don't know yet what Republican Tallarico is going to face. The Republican race there is going to come down to a runoff in May between Senator John Cornyn and State Attorney General Ken Paxton in what has been a bruising primary.
4:50 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show. And as we said in the opening part of the show, Tim, she had a terrible campaign strategy of thinking that she could mobilize enough Democrats and pull out a victory against Tallarico. But also, Jasmine Crockett, I lost. Oh, the one thing also, too, I lost my thought there for a second. One thing, too, that didn't help her, there were PACs that were running ads against her because, while a member of Congress, she voted in support of defensive weapons for Israel. And as we know, that is an absolute no-no in the Democratic Party to support Israel. So bad campaign strategy, being in support of Israel, and just being an overall terrible person and terrible candidate doomed her yesterday.
Seemed like she was too busy being on the national airwaves and running a national level campaign instead of like running. Apparently, Tallarico was beating the pavement back home. Well, there's a lot of funny memes out there, some very inappropriate, but the best one I saw was a picture of Dan Crenshaw, Jasmine Crockett, and Al Green sitting on a couple of plastic chairs underneath, like they're waiting, and there's a sign above them that says accepting applications, and then above that is a sign that says Quality Leering Center, like they're all waiting in line to get a job, and this is really horrible. You know, Dan Crenshaw, whatever you think of him as a congressman, he did serve our country in battle.
Navy SEAL, lost an eye.
Got the eye patch. Well, so whoever did this meme put him in a pirate suit. I mean, come on. You know, have some taste, people. But the memes are pretty rough because these folks all had very infamous congressional histories. I don't know. So.
Well, you know, Dan Crenshaw was a Republican, military veteran, of course, former Navy SEAL, lost an eye in battle. But the last few years, he decidedly became more center-right than center-right, than enough center-right for Texans, and he voted against some things against President Trump, which absolutely doomed him there. So Representative Crenshaw will no longer be a member of Congress. We honor him for his service. Yep. Speaking of that Texas Senate race, we talked about Cornyn pulled that off yesterday, the popular vote, but it will go to a runoff. Now all eyes are going to be on President Trump on whether or not he will endorse Cornyn If that happens, people believe that that will put him over the top. Fellow Texas Senator Ted Cruz said he will not endorse in this race. I don't think it's any particular reason that he likes Paxton over Cornyn. There's not particularly good blood between John Cornyn and Ted Cruz, so he is staying out of this race. But this is going to be an absolute bloodbath. A lot of money, $100 million plus, was spent in the primary. Probably that much or more will be spent in the following months leading up to the runoff.
Runoff is in what, June?
May, I think.
May,
Yeah.
June? Okay, so we have several more weeks, several months to go before that decision will be made. In the meantime, there will be a ton of other primaries that start happening over the next few months. Yeah, folks, in case you didn't know, we are firmly now in election 2026 campaign mode.
All right, Chris's Corner, the Democrats' Israel problem.
Chris.
And if you don't know, now you know.
And now, Chris's Corner.
Something fascinating and politically dangerous is happening inside the Democratic Party right now, and it's all centered on Israel. For decades, support for Israel was one of the few issues in American politics that had broad bipartisan agreement. Republicans supported Israel, Democrats supported Israel. It wasn't controversial. But that era is ending, and the numbers prove it. A recent Gallup poll shows that nearly two-thirds of Democrats now sympathize with the Palestinians, while only about 20% say they side with Israel. Think about that. In 2016, about half of Democrats are pro-Israel. In less than a decade, that support has collapsed. And it gets even more striking. A Pew poll found that nearly half of Democrats now have an unfavorable view of the Israeli people themselves, not just the government, the people. That shift isn't just showing up in polls, it's not now showing up in Democratic primaries. Candidates are literally being attacked by fellow Democrats for having ties to Israel. In the Michigan Senate race, Abdul El Sayed is blasting Congresswoman Haley Stevens because she's been a vocal supporter of Israel. Protesters are showing up outside her office over donations linked to AIPAC. In Texas, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett has had to defend her simply for voting to fund defensive weapons for Israel, the kind of support that used to be routine for both parties. So here's the dilemma for Democrats. Their activist base, especially younger voters and the progressive left, have become deeply hostile to Israel, but their political leadership has historically been aligned with Israel, and that tension is only going to grow. Because look at the Democratic Party's future leadership. Two names that are constantly mentioned as potential 2028 presidential contenders are Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro and Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, both Jewish and both strongly supportive of Israel. How does a party navigate that when its base is rapidly moving in the opposite direction? Even prominent Democratic leaders are feeling the shift. California Governor Gavin Newsom recently echoed language from the far left suggesting Israel could be viewed as a, quote, apartheid state. That kind of rhetoric used to live on college campuses and activist rallies. Now it's coming from governors who want to be president. And that's the trap Democrats now find themselves in. If they support Israel, they anger a growing portion of their base. If they distance themselves from Israel, they risk alienating moderates, Jewish voters, and longtime foreign policy allies. Republicans, meanwhile, have moved in the opposite direction, becoming more unified and unspoken in their support for Israel than ever before. So the political lines are shifting. Israel used to be bipartisan. Now it's becoming another partisan fault line. And if the Democratic base continues moving the way the polls show, the party is going to have to answer a question it's never had to answer before. Is the Democratic Party still the party that stands with Israel? Because right now, the voters inside the party seem to be saying something very different. That is Chris's Corner. Tim, we got Speaker Stump Speech at 5:06.
We're going to speak with Daniel Turner about all the energy implications of the war in Iran.
And we'll speak with Phil Bell, Project 21 Ambassador and CEO of Tower K Group, on energy prices. You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros and Exteriors, your all-in-one service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. Christine and I discovered Gutter Pros and Exteriors when we bought our home and inherited a gutter problem. And they've also repaired siding damage on our home because along with gutter repair, gutter installation, and leaf protection, the Gutter Pros team are also the best for repairing other exterior damage, including fascia, soffit, and all siding repair and installation. Learn about all the ways Gutter Pros and Exteriors can help your home or business right now at gutterpros.com.
Hey, it's Susie Moore. If new flooring makes you think hassle, think again, because Michael's Flooring is changing the game. For over 30 years, Michael's has been locally owned and trusted for quality, variety, and amazing service. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, laminate, luxury vinyl, or ceramic tile, their expert team makes installing new floors exciting, not stressful. That's why customers keep coming back. Visit Michael's Flooring at St. Peter's, Starting Prairie, Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
1949, the last time a Republican held the top post in St. Louis City. A gallon of milk was 84 cents and streetcars ran down Grand Avenue. Unfortunately, St. Louis City streets are no longer the epicenter of family and business life. In the 80 years of Democrat control, our city has been on a steady decline.
Hello, Kirk Ilsinger, chairman of the Republican Party for the city of St. Louis, and we believe it is our duty to provide a different path forward. I invite you to our meetings the first Thursday of every month. Learn more at stl-gop.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
Concerned about the condition of your windows driving up your energy bills? I was too. It's only called STL Windows and Doors. Their Provia windows combine old world craftsmanship the professional way, the Provia way, with over 65 years of combined experience, locally owned, offering competitive pricing and personalized service that the big box companies can't match. Call today for your free in-home estimate and start saving tomorrow. 314-277-5952 or stlwindowsanddoors.com.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green.
This is News Talk STL
At 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
From Town Hall, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. President Trump is promising to intervene in the Senate Texas Republican primary. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
Leading up to this week's GOP primary in Texas, the president did not endorse a candidate. But now, with Senator John Cornyn and Texas AG Ken Paxton heading for an election runoff at the end of May, Donald Trump said he'll soon be making an endorsement. He also wrote online that the candidate he doesn't embrace should immediately drop out of the race. The winner of the runoff will face Democrat James Tallarico. Greg Clugston, the White House.
A Russian flagged ship has exploded and sank in the Mediterranean.
Libya says a Russian flagged tanker carrying liquefied natural gas has exploded and erupted in flames before sinking in the Mediterranean Sea off the coast of Libya. No casualties have been reported. The tanker was under Western sanctions, suspected to be part of Russia's shadow fleet trying to bypass sanctions imposed on Moscow over its war in Ukraine. The cause of the explosion is not immediately clear. The Libyan Maritime Authority says there were sudden explosions followed by a massive fire on the Arctic metagas on Tuesday off the coast of the Libyan city of Sirte. The statement added the tanker completely sank between Libya and Malta, and all 30 crew members were rescued. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
A U.S. submarine has sunk an Iranian warship in the Indian Ocean. That comes as Washington and Israel intensify their bombardment Wednesday of Iran's security forces and other symbols of power. As the war expands yet again, Tehran has warned of the destruction of the Middle East's military and economic infrastructure. A recovery day on Wall Street with the Dow up by 238 points. The Nasdaq rose 290. The S&P advanced 52. Oil up to $75.69 a barrel. More at townhall.com.
Meet Morgan Jones. Morgan is about to step into a world unknown to most, thanks to Progressive's Renters Insurance, a place of fresh linens and turn-down service. You see, Morgan temporarily vacated her apartment and has gone to a hotel because a pipe burst in her apartment. A pipe that made her sense of reality and apartment ceiling all come crashing down. Luckily, Morgan checked into Progressive's Protection Zone. Get a quote at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and third-party insurers.
If you're like most Americans nearing retirement with money in a 401k or IRA, then listen. The U.S. Supreme Court's recent ruling on President Trump's tariffs has added fresh uncertainty to global trade policy, and investors don't like uncertainty. That ruling helped push gold to another multi-week high. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000 to get your free gold investment kit. You'll also receive a free copy of Ken Rogoff's book, Our Dollar, Your Problem. Consult your financial advisor before investing. Call 800-900-8000.
Here's the Wall.
From the Michael's Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. A chance for more scattered storms tonight into Thursday morning. Temperatures not moving much, if anything rising a little bit, low 54 Thursday morning, and then a high of 68. A warmer day. Any rain in the morning tapers off pretty quickly after the morning drive, and most of the day is dry and mostly cloudy. There is a chance for some isolated showers or a storm Thursday night into early Friday morning. Otherwise, Friday's our warm day, a high of 79 degrees, breezy and partly to mostly cloudy. Then we watch for some more storms Friday night, mainly after midnight into Saturday morning. Those could be severe, so we'll keep a close eye on that for Friday night. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
If you turned 65 recently like me, it's important you find a Medicare Advantage plan that gives you the coverage you're looking for. But finding one can be difficult. The best thing I did, and I suggest you do the same, is call a licensed insurance agent and let them walk you through your Medicare Advantage plan options. There are so many benefits you have access to, so make the call now and let the representatives explain everything to you. Our licensed insurance agents can offer you a variety of Medicare Advantage plans. Plus, the call is free, the information is free, and there's no obligation to enroll. We're here to make it easy for you to select a Medicare Advantage plan that may work for your needs. Finding a Medicare Advantage plan can be easy if you do what I did. Make a quick call right now to learn more. Thank you.
800-439-7851. 800-439-7851. 800-439-7851. That's 800-439-7851.
If you find yourself feeling out of place in the world, it's comforting to know conservative values haven't been abandoned everywhere.
The far left wants to destroy conservative values in America.
This is News Talk STL. Welcome home. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
To your first question about oil prices, thank God we have a president who has exuded American energy dominance over the past year, an administration that is wholeheartedly focused on keeping prices stable as best as we can. Of course, this operation is temporary to protect the homeland, but crude oil prices did fall yesterday. They remain stable today after the president announced steps to ensure the stability in global energy markets. Again, those include the DEC offering reasonably priced political risk insurance, and the potential for the U.S. Navy to provide protection for the flow of energy through the Strait of Hormuz. It is the president's belief and his economic team's belief that the economy continues to be very strong. It's robust and will be able to weather any of the temporary impacts of Operation Epic Fury.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt addressing the energy ramifications of Operation Epic Fury and of the Trump administration 2.0 writ large. We're going to discuss that in just a moment with our special Speaker Stump Speech guest today, Daniel Turner of Power of the Future. Welcome back to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL. Here in the Heartland, it's 5:07 in the p.m. Central Standard Time. On March the 4th, 2026, we're monitoring all of these issues near and far. Chris Arps, of course, with me in studio today.
Yes.
How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I can't complain.
We're so important that we have 2 producers now. Yeah,
it takes 2
to herd all these cats, you and I, in here as well. Want to give a big shout out to producer Cole. If you're watching on any of our streaming services, we have 5 of them, 5 streaming platforms, because we want to be wherever you might be watching us, and that would be Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Rumble, Instagram. So we're on all 5 streaming platforms every single day. You just go to your favorite streaming platform. Hopefully it's one of those 5, and you can watch us and listen to us. If you're just doing audio only, you can do that as well. You can also listen on the app. The app's the easiest way to listen to us around the planet. Chris, I was listening to the app this morning. Caught second half of Mike Ferguson, first half of Vic Porcelli. That app, I don't know who Joe and Jeff used, but it's absolutely fantastic. It works without a hitch.
And what I like about it, it just gives our voices just a nice golden baritone to it. I love it.
It does. Whatever Joey's done to juice us up, it sounds really fantastic. And I was listening to, I've always wondered, like when I'm in Jefferson City at our News Talk STL Jeff City Bureau, I've always wondered, like, does it sound weird? Is it echoing? Is it, and I was listening to Jamie. Jamie was at Studio Shore yesterday. You and I have both been there before. I was like, what do we sound like? So I turned on the app. It sounds great. It sounds like right now. It sounds like us in studio.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I asked, did we get new mics for the Jefferson City Bureau? Because it just sounds so good. You know, when you are in Jeff City and talking to me, it sounds like you're right here next to me. The audience would not know you are 200 miles away.
It's amazing. It really is. I want to thank Phil and Ethan Valencia. They are our vendors at Stage Ready One of our intrepid vendors that we use here at News Talk STL. They have a little side studio here as well that we do a lot of our weekend shows in. All right, without further ado, as promised, let's get to today's speaker's stump speech.
Listen to me, listen to me.
I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius.
It's time for the Speaker's Stump Speech, sponsored by Hanson's Tree Service at hansonstree.com.
Oftentimes I do a monologue. Sometimes I bring in a special VIP guest. And Chris, I thought that because we have so much to talk about regarding Operation Epic Fury and how it's going to affect all of us, that we should bring in an energy expert. You often hear the good folks from Power the Future here on our station. We've got the founder and the executive director of Power the Future, our good old friend Daniel Turner, powerthefuture.com. Daniel, how you been, my friend? Thanks for joining Chris and I here today.
Oh, it is always great to be on your program. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Daniel, the energy ramifications not only of Operation Epic Fury, but of Trump 2.0 need to be discussed, analyzed, and understood, right? So how about, Daniel, let's start bigger. Let's start with the energy ramifications of Trump 2.0. Has this administration been able to rectify the majority of the mistakes that were made in the previous administration as regarding our energy production and usage?
Considering it's only been, 12, 13 months in the process, I mean, not a lot of time in of national energy policy. So that's pretty remarkable. I think what we have to look at when it comes to Epic Fury is a little bit of a comparison for context of other global engagements. For example, when Russia invaded Ukraine, we saw this huge spike in oil, 35, 40%. I mean, that's cataclysmic, right? And we saw it. We saw oil go to $135 a barrel. We ultimately saw $6 a gallon gas. What we saw in the last couple of days isn't great. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to pay more for gas than anyone else does. But we saw, a $12 bump in the price of oil. Maybe your gas has gone up 15, 20 cents a gallon. So in context, this is not really that big of a deal. And the reason why is because our production is so robust that we are able to absorb these types of geopolitical activities. And that's a huge difference from where we were just a couple of years ago.
Daniel, I have to second that. Usually it takes about $28 to fill up my little car. I filled up earlier this week on Monday, and it was $31. And, I expected gas prices to go up because of what's going on in the Persian Gulf. But, that was not a huge bump up. So I was pleasantly surprised by that. Speaking of mistakes that were made by the previous administration, the Biden administration, if you remember, Biden depleted the Strategic Energy Reserve in a futile attempt to try to lower gas prices. Where is that reserve now? Has it been replenished at all, or what's the current situation with that?
No, and that's a great question, and I'm really glad you asked it because it is a geopolitical risk, right? It is part of our larger energy portfolio. And it's unfortunate that we are in such bad shape. We're replenishing it a little bit. There was money in the One Big Beautiful Act to buy oil to replenish it. But we've drained, the Biden administration drained some 600 million barrels. That's going to take years and years and years to replenish. So it's headed in a good direction, but it is absolutely nowhere where it should be. Again, it's just one of the many things that Joe Biden left us with that's going to take us some time to dig out of that hole.
Daniel, the Trump haters, the left-wing liberal progressives, the lunatics on CNN and MS Now and some of the other cable stations and the nightly news programs, they're all freaked out about Donald Trump daring to take down this horrible theocratic regime, which has been, lording over the Middle East for our entire lifetimes and, causing the deaths of servicemen and women everywhere. But Daniel, I've noticed that none of them are discussing the greater geopolitical ramifications here, like what like what we've been discussing here. And one of the headlines, Daniel, that caught my attention from a more rational source, National Review, said, "Why Operation Epic Fury is catastrophic for Xi, the leader of China." Daniel, why is that so?
It's also the same tagline could be used when we talk about the operations in Venezuela. China's biggest energy vulnerability is that they do not have a domestic supply of oil, and they consume some 20 million barrels a day, and that all has to come from external sources. So in the past, Venezuela was their number one provider. Venezuela, half of Venezuela's oil went to China. When it comes to Iran, 80% of their oil goes to China. That made up 15% of China's overall oil contribution. So if you're communist China, you've lost Venezuela, although the Trump administration said they were going to allow China to start purchasing some oil, but they're purchasing it through American mediaries, right? So now if you're China, you got to deal with the Americans to get Venezuelan oil. Iranian oil now seems to be off the table. That puts you in a huge pickle. And people can say, well, China's got a lot of coal, and they do, and they have a lot of EVs, and they do. But there are a lot of things you need to make that you cannot make without oil, namely plastic, steel, right, rubber. Most of your agro-business still runs on oil. Most of your defense industry still runs on oil. So China needs oil just like America needs oil. And right now, China's not getting any, and they're paying through the nose. And a weak China is very, very good for America and the world.
Daniel, of course, we don't want to pay more for gasoline. We don't want the price of oil to go up, of course. But with the price heading up in a long run, does this help oil producers? Because they have to have a certain benchmark for the price of oil in order for major oil companies and for wildcatters to be incentivized to drill. In the short run, does the price of oil going up create more oil for us because there's more incentives for the oil companies to drill?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think anyone would celebrate the fact that oil companies are making a little bit more of a profit. But you are right? They are going to make a little bit more money, and when they're allowed to reinvest that into their industry, they will expand, right? They'll expand operations, they'll hire, they'll take more permitting. In the Biden administration, one of the things that they were constantly persecuted on is, if you remember, they would hold them before the Senate and scream at them for stock buybacks and for lavish salaries and bonuses. And the CEOs would say, well, what else am I supposed to do with this? Because what else am I supposed to do with this? Because I can't buy leases. I can't buy, you've shut down the Gulf. You've shut down Alaska. You've shut down the Outer Continental Shelf. So what am I supposed to do with my money? So, of course, I'm going to do something like buy back my stock or give my CEOs bonuses. Well, now there's a huge open world of oil and gas exploration. And so, yeah, I think you could see this initial blip in prices lead to expanded production.
Daniel, nice pivot there, telling them you're on the radio while answering simultaneously. Good job.
He's a professional. I watch him.
And I was just on Capitol Hill trying to have these conversations with some people that need to hear it. So it's been a busy day.
Amen.
That last night I birthed 3 sets of twins with my sheep farm. So I've been up since 2 a.m. I still have a little bit of placenta under my fingernails, and I was on Capitol Hill.
Danny,
what a day.
Danny, that's way too much information, but thank you.
He is a true Renaissance man, and he's doing the Lord's work. We're talking to Daniel Turner. He's one of our favorite guests, founder, executive director, Power the Future, powerthefuture.com. Daniel, the other thing I noticed that the left never wants to think about is good things that can happen from things that the Trump administration is doing. And Daniel, I know we have a long way to go. I know there's a lot of ifs and
things.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of ifs involved here. But Daniel, if Iran was not ruled by a 7th century oppressive theocratic regime with designs to destroy half the globe, and was not such an oppressive nation and the world state sponsor of terror, Daniel, if that regime no longer exists a year or two from now, wouldn't that be a good thing for the Middle East and for everyone's energy consumption? What would that look like in your energy world?
Well, I just had a chuckle when you said good things because nothing good comes from the Trump administration, right? That is the talking point of the left right now. Everything is bad that he does. But you're absolutely right. Built into your oil prices is the fact that shipping containers worldwide have to pay high insurance premiums because they run the risk of being blown up by the Iranian Navy. 20% of the world's oil does go through the Straits of Hormuz, and they are constantly under threat of attack, right? And so even though they're not necessarily our ships, those prices are built into oil and gas prices, and we pay for them. Imagine if we had a peaceful world. Imagine if we didn't have to pay all those additional insurance premiums to keep the Iranians at bay. Imagine if we didn't have to pay for the other things that we have to pay for in terms of military operations because we're under constant jihadi threat. Right, so you're absolutely right. And maybe you need to be of a certain age or grow up in a certain area where you knew real Persians. I have many friends whose families escaped, but they were a rich and wealthy and prosperous and glamorous and educated and peaceful country. And many of them are still alive that remember it, and they remember how great it was, and they want it back. And oil and gas revenue will help them build back the country that was stolen from them. So I think there's a lot to be optimistic about in that region of the world and just in world peace overall.
Daniel, literally every other day here on the show, we're talking about data centers, and a lot of these communities are against those. One of the problems with data centers is they tax the grid tremendously. The Power of the Future has a new report out called Frozen by the Firm, FERN, Fern, America's Energy Grid Crisis. Tell us about that report.
Yeah, that was going through the Winter Storm Fern and what was happening to our electric grid in real time. And that was the first big storm that hit most of the Northeast. That was, we saw where I live in rural Virginia, we got, 18 inches of snow that turned into ice. Where my family lives in New York City, they got well over 2 feet. But what we did is we went through the entire electric grid in the nation and looked at what was actually working. And what was working was what always works: reliable fossil fuels and nuclear, right? Because when you have a solar panel covered in 2 feet of snow, it's not working. And your wind turbines in that storm can't generate a charge. That's just the laws of electricity. It's not anything to do with them or my huge dislike for wind and solar, and I vehemently dislike wind and solar. That's just a drawback of those technologies. So we wanted to document, and we put this report out 2 days after the storm was done. We wanted to say, if you're alive right now, if you had power, if you were able to keep your house warm, etc., it is because the grid was kept afloat by fossil fuels. And if you say, well, yes, in that circumstances, wind and solar don't work, well, then why would I ever want them? Right? Why would I ever want this luxury good that I can only, it's like someone, it's like I don't know, it's like your wife buying this $1,000 purse that she's only going to use if she goes to the Oscars. And you say, well, you know what? Like, that's a really big expense for something that we're never going to get. And that's what wind and solar are, right? They are luxury, liberal fantasies. But if you need stuff that works all the time, regardless of weather, you need reliable fossil fuels.
Indeed. Daniel, we'll say amen to that and let you go because you're a very busy guy. I know you got to get back to the farm, and take care of all the sheep back there.
Have you named the twins or the triplets? Have you named them?
No. We have too big of an operation to give anyone names, but they have lovely ear tags and numbers. So.
That's great. Daniel Turner with Power the Future, powerthefuture.com. And he's, of course, on Twitter X, Daniel Turner PTF. Daniel, thanks for everything. Thanks for fitting us in. We really appreciate it. We'll hope to talk to you again soon sometime.
God bless you guys. Anytime. Thank you.
Thank you as well. He's a great dude, isn't he? He's
is.
a lot of fun. Man, he's on Capitol Hill. He's doing radio and TV interviews. And, folks, just so you know, Daniel Turner is on Fox News, Fox Business, Newsmax all the time. Chris, we always get the biggest stars here at News Talk STL.
We do.
And he's a smart dude as well.
And he has placenta under his fingernails.
Yeah, sheep placenta.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if we needed to know that.
Wait, TMI, definitely.
We do as well. I'll have to ask my dad, Dr. Jones, about that. All right, when we come back, we're going to speak with Philip Bell. He's a Project 20. Now, do you know him or do you just know of him?
I just know that I saw here He's a Project 21 ambassador, so I am not familiar with him.
I think I met him one time at like a Grover Norquist meeting. So, but I don't. Well, we're going to get to. Both of us are going to get to know him better. You're going to get to know him better. How the attacks on Iran will affect the economy. The results of that wild Texas primary on both the Democrat and Republican side, and more with Philip Bell, Project 21 ambassador, CEO of the Tower K Group. He'll join us next on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. A chance for more scattered storms tonight into Thursday morning. Temperatures not moving much, if anything rising a little bit, low 54 Thursday morning, and then a high of 68. A warmer day. Any rain in the morning tapers off pretty quickly after the morning drive, and most of the day is dry and mostly cloudy. There is a chance for some isolated showers or a storm Thursday night into early Friday morning. Otherwise, Friday's our warm day, a high of 79 degrees, breezy and partly to mostly cloudy. Then we watch for some more storms Friday night, mainly after midnight into Saturday morning. Those could be severe, so we'll keep a close eye on that for Friday night. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
Whether at home or at work, you're mobile. So when you're mobile, stay mobile. Keep St. Louis's home for conservative talk with you wherever you go. Download the News Talk STL app in the App Store or at newstalkstl.com.
Let's talk about where you can find really fine things for the fine people in your life. Shop where we all shop here at News Talk STL, and that would be at Newstedter's Fine Jewelers. Richard Newstetter, the Newstetters family, they've been running Newstetters since 1961. We've all been in there tons of times because where would you go? You wouldn't go anywhere else. You're not going to go to those big sterile big boxes. I mean, every time you go in those big box stores, you never know who you're going to talk to. You never know if they're going to remember you or not. You never know what kind of service you're going to get. Newstetters delivers consistency, uniformity, and warmth, right? They'll get to know you really well. They'll get to know what you like and what the special people in your life like, and you can create a wish list that the big boxes aren't going to do this for you. You can sit down with the Newstetters folks, and you can create a wish list. So, like, you go in there with your wife, your spouse, your significant other, draft up all the things that, you know, they may want or you may want or that the kids or the in-laws may want, and you write that down, they put it in a box, and then next time you go in there, well, you look like a champ because you come out with something that somebody has desired. Fine jewelry does not mean expensive jewelry at Newstetters. First of all, they've been around since 1961. They know what people, they know that people have budgets, right? And whether you have a budget of $50, $500, $5,000, they're going to work with and within that. Yes, they have diamonds. That's why their website is called WowDiamonds.com. That's for the whole Newstetter store, the whole operation. WowDiamonds.com. They can put those diamonds into wedding engagement rings. They can make hand-engraved items. Richard is a master engraver, not a lost art at Newstetters. Pendants and earrings, pearls, watches, men's, women's. They do repairs. They do pearl and bead restringing, quality ring resizing. We've used them for that, and so much more. They're in the heart of the county of St. Louis. They're at 2961 Daugherty Ferry Road. That's just 2 miles west of Interstate 270. And they're available, like I said, 24/7 at WowDiamonds.com. Newstetters, fine jewelers, fine stuff for all the fine people in your life. WowDiamonds.com. Newstetters, fine jewelers at WowDiamonds.com.
The Hammond Institute at Lindenwood University and News Talk STL invite you to an exclusive discussion on Missouri's tax future. Manish Bhatt, Vice President of State Tax Policy for the Tax Foundation, will explore our state's tax competitiveness and the latest efforts to eliminate individual income tax and property tax. Wednesday, March 25th at Lindenwood University, part of the H.F. Langenberg Speaker Series. The event is free, but you must RSVP at hammondinstitute.org. That's hammondinstitute.org.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
The Herzog Tomorrow Foundation provides private school tuition scholarships through Missouri's new Most Scholars program to cover the cost of accessible, high-quality schooling.
Hi, this is Myella Esser with the Herzog Tomorrow Foundation. Our private school tuition scholarships wouldn't be possible without the support of generous Missouri taxpayers. If you're a Missouri taxpayer interested in redirecting your tax dollars and sending them to Missouri students in need of a better education, please contact me at herzogmoscholars.org.
Better education for students creates a better tomorrow for all. Learn how you can help provide a better education for Missouri students at herzogmoscholars.org. That's herzogmoscholars.org. Also, sign up for The Lion, an initiative of the Herzog Foundation that carries articles covering a wide range of issues facing American families and culture. herzogfoundation.com. That's herzogfoundation.com.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Can turn the gray sky blue. I can make it rain whenever I want it to. Oh, I can build a castle from a single grain of sand. I can make a ship sail on dry land.
Iran cannot outlast us. We're going to ensure through violence of action and our offensive capabilities and our defensive capabilities, as I said, that we set the tone and the tempo of this fight. That's why stories and speculation about different things that try to make it look like we're limited in what we can do. The only limits we have in this is President Trump's desire to achieve specific effects on behalf of the American people. And that's why we don't talk about, you can say 4 weeks, but it could be 6, it could be 8, it could be 3. Ultimately, we set the pace and the tempo. The enemy is off balance, and we're going to keep him off balance.
The aptly named Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth there, Chris, saying that don't you worry your pretty little head, all you liberal reporters. The U.S. is in this for the long haul.
And the president has stressed, and members of the administration have expressed, that there will not be ground troops. The president is not looking for a long, drawn-out war like we had in Afghanistan and Iraq, and that's very good news.
Things have moved really rapidly in less than a week. It's going to be wild to see what this all looks like a week from now. And we're continuing to discuss and analyze amongst ourselves and with our awesome guest today the different ramifications of this. We just spoke about the effects on energy, global energy policy, U.S. energy policy with Daniel Turner of Power of the Future. Now we're going to speak to another great guest. His name is Phil Bell, Project 21 Ambassador, CEO of the Tower K Group, an investment bank dedicated to nonprofit organizations. And I think he may be coming to us from the land of make-believe up in Washington, D.C. Phil, good afternoon. Welcome to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
Welcome.
Well, Mr. Speaker, it has been, Chris, it is great to be with you. And not only am I in the land of make-believe, but I am in the belly of make-believe because I'm on Capitol Hill right now.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes, this is where it is all the make-believe happens, but real money goes into it, and that's the scary part.
Yeah, indeed. Well, Phil, before we get to some of these other issues we plan to talk to you about, what's happening on Capitol Hill today? I guess the Democrats are ranting and raving about this Operation Epic Fury. What have you seen and heard today?
Well, that is a lot of what I've heard. It's really funny when you think about it, and I was just listening to that clip of Secretary Hegseth. The Democrat Party is the only group outside of Mets fans, and I can say that because I'm a fellow Mets fan, who can make winning look like losing. Now think about this for a second. 47 years of some of the worst evil that has ever been perpetuated on Earth. 47 years of taking women who previously were live their lives and live freely and treat them as if they're property to care about. And now they're saying, oh, wait, no, this wasn't the way to do that. Tell me, Elizabeth Warren, how are you supposed to end that? By asking.
Phil, welcome to the show. This is Chris Arps. I am a fellow Project 21 ambassador as well, so it's great to have you as a colleague. I know that Project 21 sent out an email to us a couple of days ago getting our thoughts on the liberation of Iran. I want to get your thoughts on that.
Project 21, and it's great to finally meet you over the air. They do some terrific work.
They do.
So my thoughts on the liberation of Iran. First of all, this is stuff that is so long in coming and really should have been taken done by President Reagan, because this is the sort of thing that never should have been allowed to stand. But when last year they were doing a lot of the bombing, I went back and looked, and it was really interesting to see that you had government officials, U.S. officials, who thought that maybe the first Khamenei, that he could be sympathetic to us, and a nice religious guy who wasn't going to cause any trouble, and he'd be working with the United States. It shows you how the deep state gets things wrong. But secondly, this is something that I believe is going to be tremendous for all of us, because the role that they've played in terrorism across the world, and also from an economic standpoint, what does this mean for oil? Now we're going to get to the point where you no longer have a pinch point for oil, and that means overall in the world, that will come to mean affordability for all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Phil, such great points you make there. I mean, for the younger generations, I know younger folks are concerned about this. They're like, wait a minute, Donald Trump said he wasn't going to get us into these forever wars and he wasn't going to start these new incursions. Well, Phil, this is nothing new, right? Unfortunately, you and I and Chris, we're old enough to know that this has been going on for nearly 5 decades. It appears that Donald Trump, and you made reference to Reagan, presidents from Carter through Trump have said this is a major problem. We can't have the world's largest state sponsor of terror obtain a nuclear weapon and continue to terrorize the Middle East and therefore the rest of the globe. So Donald Trump took action, and it's necessary action, isn't it, at this point in time, given all the signs that we saw?
Oh, that's what I can think of would be a nuclear Iran, because the first thing you've got to understand is while they probably would not have taken that weapon and given it to someone else to use it, that makes them infinitely more powerful. That means so many more of the states in that area who might be willing to work with us in some form no longer have to. And let's be honest, they were China and Russia. So what does that mean? That means more countervailing power to us. And let's be honest, most people do not like having a discussion, or they for whatever reason, I think maybe it's a good thing that we don't want to talk about us lording power over others. But we have got to be able to protect our country, and we've got to be able to make sure that we have a worldwide presence. Because if that goes away, then so much of what we have become accustomed to, and that isn't just us, but that is all of our allies. So this is an important thing to protect America and those who are on the same form with.
Phil, you are, of course, a Project 21 ambassador, but you're also CEO of the Tower K Group, which is an investment bank dedicated to nonprofit organizations. You wrote a commentary for Project 21 back in January on how a $100 cost could lock millions out of home ownership. Tell us about that article, and I want to get your thoughts on the president's executive order prohibiting big investors from buying up single housing stock.
Yes. So first of all, you make me feel really good that people are in what I write. I can now feel a little bit, stand taller. But that was a really interesting article because, someone came to me and they told me, look, and I've just done this a few years ago, I bought a house. And what I always assumed is that when you buy a house, you are going to have your credit pulled from all of the credit rating agencies. So Experian, TransUnion, and so on, they're going to pull it. And then, of course, because there are some variations in your credit score, that will be noted. Each of the rating agencies has a different score, and that's what's currently done. There are at least 2 pulls of your credit when you go to purchase a home. Now, during the Biden administration, some had proposed that there only be 1 pull. And if there's only 1 pull, that can really change the way that your credit is viewed. And so we're not just talking about the interest rate that you get, because that means we could be talking about whether you're eligible to receive a mortgage at all. So the good news is that the current, President Trump and the rest of the we're going to stick with pulling at least 2 when it comes to loans for FHA. But there is always a constant concern that maybe this could change. So a lot of folks out there know that while this might seem like a small thing and the cost of pulling that credit is only $100, that could really be between does someone get a house or do they not? So I'm really glad to see that we're not going down the road of changing that process, as nuanced and interesting as it may sound. Also, you asked me about what President Trump did in terms of that executive order. See, I'm glad that President Trump is doing something to answer some of the questions that are out there. But the reality, the reason why you have so much investment funds going into housing is because Democrats have made it very difficult for us to invest in anything else. Because think about it, if you have $1 million, you used to be able to say, I would like to maybe back an entrepreneur who might build a factory to sell shoes or this or that. But if you what's going to happen? They're going to tax you. They're going to regulate you. They're going to do things like say, well, you're a guy, so you get 5 weeks of parental leave. Say, well, you didn't have the baby. No matter, you get 5 weeks of parental leave. Go ahead. All of these things that make it very difficult and questionable to invest. But the one thing that you can put money in that will lose is housing, because the person living in that house pays all of those costs. So if the Democrats will get off, or they are forced to stop regulating, that is going to ultimately lead to lower housing costs, and that's what we want.
Speaking to Phil Bell, he's the CEO of the Tower K Group. He's also a Project 21 ambassador, towerkgroup.com. Phil, I'd love for you to tell us, we've got a few minutes left here, a little bit more about the Tower K Group. I also read your bio. It is the definition of the American dream and the American story coming to fruition. And at the Tower K Group, you all work, you all develop solutions for nonprofit organizations to build lasting, well-funded programs. And so, Phil, I think a lot of people don't really understand the nonprofit world. They think they're all just a bunch of government NGOs and things of that sort. But isn't the nonprofit world, isn't that where a lot of the free market and the liberty and freedom fighters generally live? And tell us about that and some of the work you do with those organizations.
Absolutely, Mr. Speaker, you got it spot on. So I cut my teeth working at FreedomWorks, which for a long time was the largest grassroots conservative nonprofit I remember, such as the big marches on Washington in 2009, 10. They were behind it. I wasn't there at the time, but they were behind it. And I learned what fun meant. And I saw exactly what you said. The nonprofit world, especially those of us on the right, is a way that those who believe in what we're doing are put their money into educating the public about what's going on. Because the sad part is, most of us, we get our news from, hopefully good places like this station. But unfortunately, a lot of people, whether they're reading things like the Washington Post or they're watching, let's hope that's now, they don't get the full story. And why I'm not telling everybody, but we want them to listen to both sides. And this has been a great way that we conservatives were able to put that message out, talk about everything, whether it's the economy, whether it's talking about the future or otherwise. So that's what we do, is we raise money to help a lot of our clients do just that and help them get their message out. And it's an amazing ride. And you can see the impact when you look at something like the tax bill, because there was so much that went in that tax bill that if the administration didn't hear it from economists, like some of the ones that I'm looking for, that would not have been, things like no tax on tips may very well not have come about. So that is where you can see that influence.
And finally, Phil, talking about getting the conservative message out, the 5-year anniversary of the great Rush Limbaugh was recently. Tim and I are in the media business, the radio business, so he was a huge influence on us. Talk about Rush Limbaugh and what he has meant to the conservative movement and the void that he has left now that he's no longer with us.
So I'll tell you a quick story. I got out of school one day, and I always operated the radio where my grandmother drove the car. And I heard this, it sounded like Mike Tyson, but it was clearly a parody. And I thought it was the funniest thing, and it was great. And it turned out that was Rush's show. And from that moment on, I was hooked. And the neat thing about Rush is he shared his views. he also shared with you the opposing views. I learned so much about what liberals were saying, how they thought, and so forth by hearing it from them through his show. But after that, if you listen to the show, you could say, okay, I understand what they're doing. I see what they're doing. Now I understand why I'm here. And that's what actually to D.C. into doing all these things. None of it would have happened without Rush Limbaugh, because I learned so much about both sides, and I could clearly articulate why I'm.
Well, Phil, it has been a pleasure for us to connect with you. Thank you for sharing your story. It's a fascinating one. Thank you for doing the Lord's work up there, deep in the belly of the beast, in the original swamp. We wish you all the best with all your projects, and you'll have to come back again soon sometime and update us.
Well, thank you so much. It was a pleasure to be here. I'll have to come back. And by the way, keep fighting in the Show Me State. I hear that you're going to get rid of the income tax. Let's make that happen.
All right.
We're working on it. Thank you so much, Phil. Have a great afternoon. Project 21 Ambassador, CEO of the Tower K Group. And Chris, his bio really is the American dream, like so many people that we know, right, including us. You know, I mean, we're all beneficiaries of that. And he worked for Speaker Newt Gingrich back in the day and started his own company. And what a great dude. So.
And I'm not just saying this because I'm a member, but Project 21 has top people, and Mr. Phil Bell is one of those. And can't wait to talk to him again here on the show.
Yeah, Joey, we'll have to put him on the rotation list. Wow, 5:44.
No way.
I can't believe it. Here on the Tim Jones and Chris
Cole makes
Arps
the show just go faster.
He does. Indeed. We're happy to have him here as well. Thank you all for joining us. Oh, before we go to a break, we almost forgot. We got to tell you, we got a big event coming up. Tell you real quick. St. Charles County Lincoln Trump Dinner, Friday, March 20th, Old Hickory Golf Club. VIP reception 5:30. Dinner and program at 6:30. Where can you get information? stcharlesgop.com. That's stcharlesgop.com. Always a huge dinner. You're going to see all the famous politicians and politicos and pundits and campaigns and candidates. They're all going to be there. stcharlesgop.com, Friday, March the 20th. Chris, when we come back, I wrote a note down about the fact that you're going to tell us all about Biden spying on Trump.
Shocker.
Indeed. What's that all about? Well, you're going to have to stand by. And then we'll tell you what's coming up on Larry Connors USA. All of that is straight ahead on your number one station for live and local conservative talk, 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. A chance for more scattered storms tonight into Thursday morning. Temperatures not moving much, if anything rising a little bit. Low 54 Thursday morning, and then a high of 68. A warmer day. Any rain in the morning tapers off pretty quickly after the morning drive. And most of the day is dry and mostly cloudy. There is a chance for some isolated showers or a storm Thursday night into early Friday morning. Otherwise, Friday's our warm day, a high of 79 degrees, breezy and partly to mostly cloudy. Then we watch for some more storms Friday night, mainly after midnight into Saturday morning. Those could be severe, so we'll keep a close eye on that for Friday night. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
I'm just curious if this World Baseball Classic is going to have the stupid-ass Major League Baseball rule changes or if they're going to play real baseball. We'll ask Nate Lucas Thursday at 10:05.
Weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Hey, let me tell you about a dental practice I don't just recommend. I'm a proud patient. The Dental Link is run by Dr. Alan Link and his son Andrew, and you can feel the difference the moment you walk in. Dr. Link will be with us next Thursday, so you want to listen in for that. Hey, I have dental implants, so this is very personal for me. This isn't cosmetic fluff. This is serious dental work. They took the time to explain everything, made sure that I was comfortable, and treated me like I was a person, not a procedure. You know, the one thing that really stood out is the staff. Dr. Link treats his team like family, and you can tell. They genuinely enjoy working there, and that shows in how relaxed, professional, and attentive they are with patients. Hey, and if you're nervous about implants, here's something important. The Dental Link offers many dental implants, a minimally invasive alternative that often means less pain, shorter recovery times, and a reduced risk of complications compared to traditional implants. My implants have been a game changer. They look natural, they feel natural, and gave me back confidence I didn't even realize I'd lost. The Dental Link's Baldwin office is located near 141 in Manchester, and you can reach them at 636-496-8584, or you can learn more at thedentallink.com. The Dental Link. Do good, do it well, have fun doing it. That's their motto.
Hey, Tony Colombo here, inviting you out for a great night of fun and rock and roll with the Queen Tribute Somebody to Love, Friday, March 20th at the Mill in Granite City. My band, Tony Colombo and the North County Sound Machine, featuring Katie Fitzpatrick, opens the show, followed by the ultimate Queen experience from Somebody to Love. That's Friday, March 20th at the Mill, Granite City's premier concert and event venue, brought to you by Weber Chevrolet. Support local music and join us for a great party. Tickets and info now at themill.events.
Jeffco Patriot Radio.
Hey guys, Billy Crow here from Jeffco Patriot Radio. As we follow the important issues facing Jefferson County, if you want to stay informed on Jeffco politics, especially in this all-important midterm election year, make sure to tune in this and every Sunday at high noon here on News Talk STL.
Jeffco Patriot Radio.
If it's a big story in Jefferson County, you'll hear about it on Jeffco Patriot Radio. Sundays at noon on News Talk STL.
Dropping truth bombs and making you think. It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
Why are you and the president not on the same page?
We're on the same page. I'm not at liberty to say publicly much of the classified information that I get in all these briefings, and that's always the delicate part of this, because if we say too much, then it reveals methods and sources, and it eliminates the ability of our extraordinary military and intelligence community to do what they do. The president has explained his analysis and his thought. Obviously, Israel is a close ally. They're in close communication. But everything I've said and everything he said is all true.
On the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, and there you have our media, Tim, trying to poke holes in the stories between the president and the war secretary and the leaders on why they're not on the same page. They are. I think the fact that this operation is going so well shows that they're on the same page where it really counts.
I'm also confused by that line of questioning because we were told up until that moment that Mike Johnson was nothing more than a lapdog for President Trump. So are they upset that he's a lapdog, or are they upset that he is, in their mind, showing an independent streak? I mean, which one do they want? It seems like they're never satisfied, and they're always just going to complain about something. What were they saying that there was daylight on? Do you know?
Well, the president wasn't exactly clear. The administration wasn't exactly clear on the reason for the invasion. Some were saying ballistic missiles. Is this regime change? Marco Rubio said that Israel was about to attack Iran, and so that's why we joined them. And then the press jumped in and said, "Hey, are we following Israel? Are we free thinkers here?" And the president had to go back and said, in the clip he said yesterday, he said, "I think I'm the one that influenced Israel to take this action." So they're trying to find any type of daylight. We know that the opposition media is aligned with the Democrats, and anything that President Trump does, they are going to be against it. And that's just an example there to me. I want a curious press. That's their job.
I do too.
They are in the Constitution as they right to question our officials. But when it just seems that they're unnecessary adversarial, especially during a time of war, it just kind of turns your stomach.
I'd also love to know how many stories have they written about the liberation of the Iranian women? You know, how many Iranian American women have they interviewed about how happy these people are literally dancing in the streets in major urban areas? Have any of these news networks gone up and asked them why? Free Palestine. Okay, fine. What about free Iran? It seems like when the shoe's on the other foot, their interest level wanes.
And, Tim, the Jerusalem Post reported about 4 hours ago that hundreds of Kurdish fighters had begun ground activity inside Iran from an area near the Iraqi border. Israeli and American officials confirmed that to the Post on Wednesday. That's a development that could open an additional front against Tehran as regional tensions continue to escalate. That is the Jerusalem Post. So that is very good news, and that means even more that the possibility of Americans setting foot in Iran to fight a war will not happen. I'd like to see the Arab countries join the Kurds and join them in this operation and topple this evil regime that's been tormenting the world for the last 47 years.
Yeah, that's what needs to happen. The folks in that region, Chris, they need to figure this out. I hope they do. We've opened the door. Now they need to be the ones that walk in.
Here's a shocking story. This was about 2 weeks ago, Tim, but FBI Director Kash Patel says the FBI under President Biden subpoenaed his phone records and those of Susie Wiles, who ran President Trump's campaign. The Trump officials with the investigation said this may be the tip of the iceberg. Susie Wiles told associates that she is in shock. The investigation revealed, Tim, that they obtained toll records, the timing and receipts of calls. The FBI sought records of calls Patel and Wiles made in 2022 and 23 amid the federal probe of whether Trump improperly stored classified documents. Reuters is also reporting that the FBI recorded a phone call between Wiles and her attorney. Tim, you should have.
That's illegal.
And according to two FBI officials, Wiles' attorney was aware that the call was being recorded but consented to it, but Susie Wiles was not. Talk about that. I mean, what does that mean if your attorney knows that the call is being recorded, but you don't? Talk about the legal implications of that.
You know, it's one of the most sacrosanct rights that we have in this country, and one of the well-established laws, attorney-client privilege. And I think the attorney has objected since then and said he didn't know. I don't know. They should not be taping conversations between attorneys and their clients. That is a huge breach of trust. I am glad that we're discovering all these things, but can we please have some accountability? I mean, all the things that we've learned, so all these things that we were conjecturing and speculating about that we thought that the Biden administration was doing wrong, we're now learning that they're all being confirmed as true. And so can we please have some accountability for these people who have committed these massive transgressions, these violations of some of the things that we hold most dear in this country? Like when you're talking to your attorney, Chris, you don't want anybody else.
No.
You don't want anybody else listening. This is a huge violation.
And it makes you think, why was the FBI under the direction of Joe Biden listening to Trump campaign officials?
Why?
It's like
that sounds like Russian collusion.
It sounds like you're using the government to spy on your opponent's campaign.
Huh. Kind of like what Hillary did back in the day. It's amazing. They never seem to learn.
California may have some sanity restored to it, Tim. The voter ID issue has been a strong issue for the Republicans. Democrats, of course, say that it's racist. Everywhere voter ID has been implemented, voting among minorities actually goes up. Well, there will be a measure on the California ballot in November to put voter ID on the ballot.
Well, that'll be interesting.
It's actually popular. There was a recent poll that showed that 48% are in favor of the initiative, 47% are opposed. So California, the land of fruit and nuts, the Democratic stronghold, they may actually require voter ID. If that does passes, and California is a huge state, blue state, I just wonder what will the argument be in the future against it when a state like California votes in favor of it.
I'm sure that they will do everything they can to lie, cheat, and steal and make sure that doesn't happen. But could you imagine, Chris, if California passes a voter ID law, the media, Gavin Newsom, all the other left-wing liberal progressives, they might have an absolute mind meltdown if that occurs.
And I think if California does pass this initiative in November, I think it puts the whole voter ID issue to bed.
Then maybe the SAVE Act is done.
Exactly. All right, in the remaining few minutes that we have left, Tim, you have anything particular you want to tell us?
Yes. Chris, in the State of the State, Governor Mike Keogh's State of the State this year, he asked for the legislature to come up with a plan that would implement his vision of eliminating the income tax. That bill was revised, and the new version was dropped in a Missouri House committee this morning, and it was voted out of committee on, no surprise, party lines, 7-3. It's now going to quickly make its way through a couple more procedural hurdles, and then my prediction is it will be voted on by the whole House and will pass the House next week and head to the state Senate.
And give you predictions on the Senate. Where will it be there? Will it languish? Will it pass?
If I knew that answer, you and I would go buy Powerball tickets. I think, Chris, that the leadership in the Senate will be behind this, and it eventually will get across the finish line before the end of the year. But it's going to be a long, hard slog in the upper chamber.
And this will, of course, be something that the voters will have to vote on in order to initiate the income tax phase out.
This November.
All right. Okay, great show today. Cole, Great job today, Joey. Great job. Coming up next, Larry Connors USA, the story behind the story, being amazed while reporting from the first Gulf War. Larry Connors USA is up next. You've been listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL. Drive safe and have a great evening.
Are you a proud American? Then join us for the Lincoln Trump Dinner, March 20th at Old Hickory Golf Club in St. Peters, hosted by the St. Charles County Republican Central Committee. The evening features a VIP reception, dinner and program with live music by the Comparato Trio. Register online at stcharlesgop.com.